the royal butler, someone who provides invaluable support to the royal family, enabling them to fulfill their duties and serve the nation.
At 47, the former royal butler, who once served the most private corners of the palace, has finally broken his silence, and what he's revealing about Prince Harry has left even longtime royal watchers stunned. After decades of loyal service, he's come forward with details the firm never wanted in public view. From whispered conversations behind gold-trimmed doors to troubling behavior during private moments, it's everything people suspected, and worse. So what exactly did he witness? And why is he speaking out now? What he reveals could change everything we thought we knew. The butler who knew Harry best. For Grant Harold, being a royal butler wasn't just a job, it was his entire world. He wasn't simply polishing silverware or standing dutifully in the background of formal banquets. From 2004 to 2011, he moved through the grand halls of Clarence House with the quiet authority of someone who didn't just serve the royal family. He observed them. Every raised eyebrow, every strained smile, every moment the cameras missed, Harold caught them all. And what he saw went far beyond the surface of royal perfection. He was there during Prince Harry's most pivotal years, the ones the tabloids devoured with glee. The party prince, the rebel, the cheeky son of Diana. The media couldn't decide who Harry really was, but Harold was there, watching, not from a distance, but from just a few feet away. While the world speculated, he watched the young prince navigate the treacherous waters of family expectations and public scrutiny. Folding napkins with military precision and serving tea with grace, Harold witnessed more than just royal routines. He witnessed transformation, tension, and turmoil. For years, Harold kept the code of silence. In interviews, he radiated professionalism. He spoke of King Charles's meticulous nature, praised Camilla's sharp humor, and always referred to Harry as spirited and kind. Never once did he hint at controversy. He was the butler the public respected, measured, diplomatic, a man who never seemed out to sell secrets. But something has shifted. At 47, Harold is no longer the model of royal discretion. He's still polite, still careful, but no longer restrained. The smile has stiffened, the praise has grown sparse, and the tone, it's different now. It's tinged with something colder, something that suggests he's done pretending. In recent appearances, Harold is visibly more expressive. He'll pause mid-sentence, his eyes narrowing, his mouth tightening, as if weighing whether or not to cross a line. And then he does. He utters 6 words that send shockwaves through royal circles. The world must know this. Not whispered, not dramatized, just a calm, direct statement that lands with a thud. It's not gossip. It's not about palace feuds or scandalous affairs. It's about something deeper, something that shakes the foundation of what we believe about one of the monarchy's most polarizing figures. What makes it so gripping is the lack of bitterness. Harold doesn't sound like a man with a grudge. He sounds like someone who once cared deeply and now feels let down. Someone who stood behind the velvet curtain and believed in the performance until the mask slipped. His disappointment isn't loud. It's quiet and controlled, but unmistakable. And yet, he hasn't revealed everything. Not yet. His words dance around a truth too heavy to name outright. He drops clues, lets slip tiny cracks in the narrative, and leaves viewers hanging with every carefully measured phrase. He hints that the Harry we saw, the charming rogue, the loving son, the reluctant royal, might not have been real at all. And now, just as Harold's revelations begin to stir the dust of old secrets, we arrive at the edge of something far darker, cracks in the castle walls. But what exactly is threatening to shatter, and who's behind it? Stay glued to your screen. The secrets behind Harry's royal rift. The British royal family was never designed for openness. Behind the palace gates, everything is choreographed. Each smile carefully practiced, each wave fine-tuned, and every pause packed with meaning. This wasn't a place where feelings flowed freely or personal struggles played out in public. It was a system built on control, where image reigned supreme, and silence held more weight than any confession. So when Prince Harry began slowly lifting the royal curtain, first with subtle gestures and later with bold declarations, it wasn't just a shift, it was an earthquake. At first, it seemed like Harry was simply stepping back from royal duties, but as the world watched, it became clear that he wasn't just stepping back, he was stepping away from tradition, away from responsibility, and eventually away from everything the crown stood for. His exit was anything but smooth. It was noisy, emotional, and very public. There were explosive interviews, revealing documentaries, a blockbuster memoir, and press coverage that once hounded him but now felt more like a weapon in his hands. The very media he'd despised was now a tool he wielded with precision. But Harry's path didn't suddenly veer off course when Meghan Markle entered the scene. The warning signs had always been there, buried beneath headlines and brushed off by fans as harmless rebellion. Long before the world noticed, those inside the palace saw it happening. Harry had always been the wild card, the prince who brought life and laughter to spaces that felt more like museums than homes. But that lightheartedness often came with chaos, drunken parties, controversial costumes, heated run-ins with the press. The palace staff didn't panic. They managed. They cleaned up. They called it what they always had: damage control. Grant Harold, the butler who quietly watched these moments unfold, never said much, but surely even he must have wondered how long before this spiraled out of control. When Meghan came along, many thought she was the match that lit the fuse. But to those who had watched Harry for years, she wasn't the cause. She was a mirror, reflecting and accelerating a shift that had already begun. Meghan didn't turn Harry against the royal family. She simply joined him in a direction he was already headed. Harold has since hinted that the break between Harry and the institution didn't start with love. It started long before the headlines caught up. Still, it was how Harry left that stunned the monarchy the most. The Oprah interview wasn't just a family airing grievances. It was a calculated strike. Accusations of racism, neglect, and emotional pain painted a dark portrait of royal life. Harry said he still loved his family, but the words, the tone, the revelations, they told a different story. One of hurt, bitterness, and perhaps something even more unsettling: strategy. For a while, Harold said little, but as time passed, he began speaking with the careful tone of someone trying not to cause harm, but deeply troubled by what he saw. He didn't throw accusations. He raised concerns. He pointed out the mismatch between Harry and Meghan's demands for privacy and their highly public lives. He spoke of the strain their departure placed on palace staff, the reshuffling, the confusion. His words weren't angry, but they held weight, the kind of weight that comes from years of quiet observation. Harold wasn't alone. Former aides and staffers began whispering similar concerns. The word betrayal started surfacing, not just in gossip columns, but reportedly behind palace walls. King Charles was deeply hurt. Prince William was furious. And while some still hoped for reconciliation, something colder was taking root, a lasting sense of distrust. Harry said he wanted peace, but his methods, public statements, Netflix deals, tell-all memoirs, only widened the rift. To someone like Harold, who spent his career believing in the quiet dignity of royal service, this new version of Harry must have felt like a stranger. He once said, "They want their privacy, yet they invite the world into their living room." And even as he spoke gently, there was something beneath it all, a quiet urgency, a sense that he knew more than he was saying. Now, at 47, with time and experience on his side, he's starting to say what many feared he never would. And if what he's hinting at is true, then perhaps the real question isn't whether Harry was failed by the monarchy, but whether he's been deliberately dismantling it from the inside. Now, what are the secrets buried so deep, even the palace fears their release? Keep watching. Is Prince Harry's true self a carefully crafted illusion? For years, Grant Harold was the image of discretion, a loyal royal butler who kept his stories locked away behind that polished smile and perfect posture. But lately, something's changed. He's no longer just offering polite commentary from the sidelines. There's a new edge in his voice, a shift in how he carries himself. This isn't a man simply sharing memories. It's someone delivering a message, one that's been festering quietly for years, and now it's finally starting to spill out. In earlier interviews, Harold spoke with warmth and balance. He stuck to royal protocol even after leaving palace life, using measured words and avoiding controversy. You could see he still believed in the dignity of the institution, and maybe even in Harry himself, but that belief is cracking. Lately, he's been saying things he never would have dared before. He still says he cares about Harry, still says he hopes for the best, but those words now arrive with long pauses. The kind of silence that feels heavy, the kind that hides something darker. The way he talks has changed too. In moments where he once would have smiled and steered away from hard truths, he now lets the tension linger. He sighs more. He tightens his jaw mid-sentence. He says things like, "I don't understand him anymore," or worse, "It's confusing." He still says he cares. Those aren't throwaway lines. They come wrapped in expressions that suggest a man wrestling with what he knows, and whether to say more. And what he knows might be far more disturbing than we realize. Harold wasn't just another palace staffer. He had an inside view of the real Prince Harry. Not the public version, not the Netflix-friendly rebel, but the young man, behind the scenes. According to Harold, the warning signs were always there. Not big scandals, little details, odd moments, fleeting glimpses of someone playing a part. So when Harold was recently asked about Harry's inconsistent behavior, his desire for privacy while chasing the press, his attacks on the monarchy while clinging to royal titles, he didn't dodge. He leaned back, arms crossed, gave a tight smile, and said, "I think the world needs to ask some serious questions." That wasn't just an opinion. It was a flare in the sky, a signal he was on the edge of revealing something much bigger. And then came the moment that truly set royal watchers ablaze. Asked what the public still doesn't know about Harry, Harold paused. Then he said it, slowly, deliberately. There's a difference between being honest and being convincing, and people confuse the two. He left it hanging. No follow-up, no clarification. But that one sentence echoed across the internet. What did he mean? Was he accusing Harry of lying, or of mastering the art of looking sincere while telling half-truths? Because if Prince Harry has spent years perfecting a public version of himself, one tailored for sympathy and admiration, what happens when that version falls apart? If Harold's hints are true, we're not just talking about exaggerated interviews or PR spin. We're talking about an entire identity built on illusion. And then there's the timing. Why now? Why not during the media circus of the royal wedding? Or the explosive release of Spare? Some believe Harold waited out of hope that Harry might still return to the family, that redemption was possible. But lately, Harold's eyes say something different, like even he knows that the prince he once believed in may be gone for good, and he's not alone. Other palace insiders have started whispering, quietly, cautiously, just enough to suggest they've been holding back too. All it takes is one voice to break the silence. And now that Harold's speaking more freely, more openly, with flashes of anger buried just beneath the surface, the truth may no longer be containable. And then came the moment he altered it. But what did those words reveal? And why are they making the palace so nervous? Stay tuned. The Butler's shocking truth about Prince Harry. It all happened quietly, almost like any other day. No flashy announcements, no headlines splashed across news sites, just Grant Harold, the former royal butler, sitting down for a simple Q&A at a small, private event in London. The topic was supposed to be royal etiquette, something Harold had spoken about many times before. But this time, something was different. He looked tense, less polished, more restless. At 47, Harold finally dropped the truth everyone had been whispering about Prince Harry, and it wasn't good. "I stayed silent for years," Harold confessed. "Not because I had nothing to say, but because I wanted to be fair. But now," he said, "the truth had to be told." And that truth? There had always been something off about Harry, something that many had guessed but no one dared say out loud. Harold wasn't just talking about family fights or clashing personalities. He was hinting at something much darker. He described Harry as charming and polite, but not genuinely. "It felt rehearsed," Harold said. Not the kind of rehearsed from royal training, but like Harry was playing a role. The crowd grew restless. Even the moderator seemed unsettled. Harold went on. Harry had a special way of making people feel important. a gift he used to win them over, not to truly connect. And now, Harold said, the world was finally seeing that. Then came the moment that sent shockwaves online. Harold said, "I believe Harry learned how to fake sincerity. This was more than just lying," he explained. It was about tricking people into thinking he was honest when he wasn't. That's what worries me the most. He's not the person people think he is. The backlash was swift. Some called Harold's words unfair attacks, while others praised him for finally revealing what many suspected. But behind the noise, a deeper doubt settled in. Harold wasn't angry or emotional. He was calm and steady. And that made his words hit even harder. This was the same man who had once praised Harry at every chance, now suggesting the public had been fooled. Maybe the image of a wounded prince fighting for truth was nothing but a carefully crafted act, a character invented for the cameras. He knows how to give people what they want, Harold said. But the real question is, what does he want? No answer came, but the implications were chilling. If Harry's public image was just a performance, then the story we've believed for years has a dark side. This wasn't just about palace disagreements or escaping the press. It was about trust, manipulation, and who Harry really is behind the scenes. And coming from someone who served him personally, tied his ties, and observed him day after day, Harold's words carried more weight than any tabloid headline. Once Harold's revelations leaked, the reaction was explosive. The world didn't just hear a royal insider speak, they felt the impact of who said it, how it was said, and what was suggested. Suddenly, Prince Harry, the man seen as a truth-telling rebel, was being questioned as a skilled performer. Inside the palace, silence was loud. No public statements, just carefully leaked whispers. One palace aide said Harold had voiced what many thought, but never dared to say. Another cryptic comment, "That's the Harry we always knew." Whether these were real feelings or calculated leaks didn't matter. The palace wasn't defending Harry like before. Reports say Prince William was furious, but not surprised. The brothers hadn't spoken in over 2 years, and any hope for a family reunion seemed lost. After King Charles's health scare, hopes for peace were already fragile. Now, with Harold's words, it felt like the last bridge had burned. And with that, the story shifts to a reputation in question. What if everything you believed about Prince Harry is about to change? Stay with us to find out. When silence speaks louder than words. After Grant Harold's striking comments, something subtle yet powerful began to change. It wasn't just the headlines that shifted. People's feelings about Prince Harry started to wobble. The automatic sympathy, the immediate trust, and the ready defense suddenly felt less certain. It was as if a quiet question hung in the air. Had we been too quick to support and too slow to ask the tough questions? This wasn't a scandal that could be smoothed over with a polished press release or a smiling royal photo. Harold wasn't some internet troll or a sensationalist writer looking for clicks. He was a man who had seen the real Harry, away from the cameras, beyond the public image. His words carried weight, a seriousness that demanded attention. Suddenly, people began to look again at Harry's story, not with judgment, but with curiosity. His charity work, his military service, and his mental health advocacy, all real and important. But now, these acts were seen through a new lens. Were these the deeds of a genuinely authentic man, or carefully crafted moves by someone skilled in shaping how the world saw him? What made the shift even more striking was Harry's silence. In the past, he fought back against false stories. He sued to protect his image and correct misleading narratives. But this time, nothing. No response to Harold's remarks, no attempt to clear the air. Just a heavy quiet that seemed to leave even his closest advisors unsure how to respond without making things worse. Even Harry's former supporters began to speak more cautiously. Descriptions like troubled, complex, and contradictory replaced words like honest and transparent. The confident, unwavering praise gave way to uncertainty. Then came the real fallout. Not loud outrage or scandalous headlines, but something slower, more damaging: the erosion of trust. Once doubt creeps in, it's hard to remove. When people start wondering, what if this has all been an act? The answers become less important than the questions themselves. Those questions alone shift the entire conversation. As for Harold, he has gone quiet again. Maybe he said all he wanted to say, or maybe he's simply watching the effects of his words unfold. exactly as he expected. Either way, his message landed hard. It didn't just reveal a flaw, it uncovered a crack, a deep fracture running through Harry's carefully maintained public image. Now, we're left with a very different story, one that isn't about heroes and villains, victims and villains. It's something more unsettling. The possibility that the person we thought we knew so well might have known exactly how to play the role we wanted to see, speaking our language perfectly, until someone finally voiced what we were all too scared to admit. Now, the public reacts. What will happen as the mask begins to fall? Stay tuned. Public response. The royal image under fire. The public reaction was anything but simple. Supporters of Harry and Meghan quickly jumped to their defense, calling the former royal butler's comments bitter, uncalled for, and possibly fueled by jealousy or a desperate attempt to stay relevant. Yet even among their most loyal fans, there were murmurs of unease. The timing, many admitted, felt strange. Why speak now, and why say it like that? On the other side were those who'd grown tired of Harry's repeated media appearances, his interviews, documentaries, lawsuits, and the ever-changing narrative of a royal escape. For them, the butler had simply said what needed to be said. He voiced what they had long suspected but never dared to say out loud. And for the group stuck in the middle, neither loyalists nor critics, the whole thing was unsettling. Grant Harold wasn't known for stirring drama. He hadn't released a tell-all book. He hadn't sat on talk shows revealing palace secrets. For years, he was diplomatic, maybe too much so. That's why, when he finally broke his silence, it didn't feel like attention-seeking. It felt like a warning, and people listened. What he said wasn't explosive in volume, but it echoed widely. He learned to mimic sincerity. That single phrase hit like a lightning bolt. It stuck in people's minds and spread like wildfire. Viewers began re-watching Harry's interviews with Oprah, re-listening to his podcast confessions, and scanning pages from his memoir, Spare with Fresh Eyes. Was that teary moment real? Was the pause before he spoke a sign of emotion, or just clever performance? Royal experts scrambled to control the narrative. Some urged calm. Others fanned the flames. A few even suggested Harold might not be alone for long. His words, after all, could give courage to other former staffers who had stayed silent out of fear or loyalty. Once one voice speaks, a former palace aide said anonymously, the rest start to feel brave. Meanwhile, Harry and Meghan stayed completely silent. No press release, no social media post, no legal threats, nothing. And in that, the speculation only grew. Was their silence part of a strategy, or were they unsure how to react without deepening the damage? For Harry, the stakes are higher than ever. His entire public identity, being the honest wounded son who dared to speak truth to power, rests on one key trait: authenticity. But what if that very authenticity was just a skillfully rehearsed act? So, if this is only the beginning, what other secrets do you think have been buried all along? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.